WBUR Podcasts, Boston.
I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and you're listening to The Common. Barbara Moran.
Hello.
What's happening?
Oh, more stuff in the water.
Oh, boy. I cannot wait to get into it with you, WBUR's climate and environment correspondent. What's the story here today?
Oh, we got a good story. We're going to be talking about nuclear power plant cleanup. There's a bunch of stuff going on over the next week or so I thought this would be a good time to check in and talk to you about it.
So, to give folks an understanding, tell us about this facility and the cleanup.
So Massachusetts used to have a nuclear power plant in Plymouth, Massachusetts, down on the South Shore. And it was called Pilgrim, like the Pilgrims. And it was open for about 45, 46 years. And it finally closed down in 2019. Okay. So after a nuclear power plant closes down, they do something called decommissioning, which means they got to go in, tear down all the buildings, deal with all the nuclear waste, right? And then remediate the site.
Yep.
Okay. So they hire this company to do this called Holtec. And they're this company out of New Jersey, which has never done a decommissioning before. But they want to kind of get into this game, okay? And they're like, okay, usually this whole process happens in 20, 30 years to decommission a site. Well, we're going to do it in 8 years. And we're going to do it cheaper. And everybody's like, okay, cool, I guess. There were some concerns like, really? You never done it before and you want to do it faster and cheaper? Is that safe? But then on the other hand, it's like, cool, maybe we'll get rid of all this waste sooner. So they go in 2019 and everything's going along fine. And then about maybe a year and a half ago, this issue comes up about all of this radioactive water that's in the plant. So nuclear power plants cool themselves. They cool the reactor with water. And there's about 1 million gallons of water left now sitting in the reactor building that's contaminated with all kinds of stuff, right? It's like got all kinds of regular nasty pollutants in it, and it's got some radioactive pollutants in it. So Holtec, this company, comes out and they say, okay, well, we're not sure what to do with the water. We might just store it on site, or we might just dump it in Cape Cod Bay.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. How is that a good idea?
Right. So everybody pretty much has the reaction that you have, right? Everybody in the Cape flips. So then begins this ongoing saga that's been picking up heat, right, in recent weeks, where, Holtec says, we'll clean up the really bad pollutants and it's only a little bit radioactive. It's not going to hurt anything. We know what we're doing. Trust us, right? Okay. So there was a public meeting last week and everybody's there and everybody's mad. And I talked to this man, David Noyes from Holtec. He's the guy that has to go out and speak for them at all these public meetings. And I went and talked to him after and I said, are you really convinced this is safe? Tell me what you think. Okay, so here was his answer.
It has consistently borne out that the types of discharges that occur from nuclear power plants, whether those that are operating or those that are in decommissioning, are not at a level that results in any harm to the environment.
So his line is just like, it's safe. Everybody needs to calm down. But, the public is like, they have the same reaction as you. They're like, this sounds insane. You're going to dump a bunch of radioactive stuff into the bay where we fish, right? Where we have shell fishing, right? And so I talked to a bunch of people at the meeting, and this one man I spoke with summed it up really well. So his name is Mark Pettit. He runs a charter fishing boats off of Plymouth. So here's what he said, and he pretty much sums up what everybody thinks, the public.
What they're proposing is wrong. It shouldn't even be something that we should be talking about.
Are you concerned it'll hurt your business?
I'm concerned that it'll hurt the environment, number one, which will trickle-down effect to my business. And once they start doing this, once it's in the water, you can't take it back.
What's happening now about this is Holtec has agreed to let the state of Massachusetts come in and take their own water samples. So the state and the Department of Public Health are going to go in there and take samples of the radioactive water from 3 places and go and do their own testing and then come out with that. And Senator Markey, who's our senator here in Massachusetts, has also demanded that Holtec put together an independent scientific advisory panel to look at the risks of doing this.
I'm sitting here and I'm laughing at the absurdity of this company proposing as an option to dump over 1 million gallons into the ocean and saying, no, it's fine. It's safe. Is there some logic to what they're proposing?
Yeah. Let me just play a little thought exercise. So when I say the word radioactive to you, what's the first thing that pops in your mind?
Okay, this is going to sound very silly. An underground hip hop show on Power 99 in Philadelphia. I'm sorry.
All right. Anything else?
Chernobyl is the next one.
So most people, when they think about radioactivity or radiation, it's a negative connotation, right? You think about Chernobyl and you think about Fukushima and you think about a nuclear bomb. So this is a communication problem, right? That the nuclear industry has.
So wait, are you telling me that, radioactivity is misunderstood?
Radioactivity is everywhere. I mean, the sun is radioactive. You're absorbing radiation from the sun.
Right, okay.
The ocean is already slightly radioactive. There is a level of background radiation around us all the time. So you're like, okay, I get it, X-rays, right? X-rays on the one hand, but on the other hand, Chernobyl.
Yeah.
There have been these fairly large nuclear power plant accidents in the past, and a kind of mistrust has built up between the public and the nuclear industry. So there's a big burden for them to overcome. And with this particular plant, Pilgrim has a long history of, having a lot of problems and accidents, so people kind of don't like it. And, I feel like Holtec has made some missteps in communicating with this. And they also we don't have a lot of information about what levels of radiation are in the water. So there's no way to sort of determine how safe it is at this point. I do feel like people's concerns are warranted. But they're not dumping green, glowing Homer Simpson toxic waste.
Right. Okay. That's important to know because that's what I kind of picture. I think that's what a lot of people are picturing when you say there's radioactive stuff in the water.
Right. As soon as you say the word radioactive, it's like, ugh, right? And this is, I should be clear, it's low-level radioactive waste.
It's a little green.
It's above background levels, right? It's more than background levels, but it's not super radioactive. But can I just raise one other point though, that in a way, what I've come around to is that it almost to me doesn't matter if it's safe or not to some extent because of the economic damage and the stigma that could be produced if they dump the water into the bay. That is a total legitimate concern, I think.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more on the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station in Plymouth.
Did you kill Marlene Johnson?
I think you're one of the first people to have actually asked.
From WBUR and ZSP Media, this is Beyond All Repair, a new podcast about an unsolved murder that will leave you questioning everything.
Somebody should be in jail for murdering my sister.
A woman who's never been believed.
As long as they think I have done this, then they're not looking for who actually did this.
And that's what makes it a cold case.
No, it's a botched case.
And a search for the truth, once and for all.
Wow, it just gets more interesting.
Beyond All Repair. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
Be careful. You're digging in a place that's been very peaceful for a while.
Do it anyway. Dig.
And we're back. If we don't dump in Cape Cod, what are the other options for dealing with the plant's wastewater?
The main options are you put some giant tanks up and store it on site forever, I guess. They already have these huge, giant, like soup can looking things where they're putting all the fuel rods. So all the heavy duty nuclear waste is going to be stored on site until they have somewhere else to put it. So people are like, well, just put the water there too. The more likely option is that they would put it in a train or put it in a truck or many trains and many trucks and ship it off to Texas somewhere or Idaho and dump it in a hole.
Here we go with the trains.
Here we go with the trains, right? So this is the issue. Now you're shipping the stuff, which doesn't seem super safe, and then dumping our waste on somebody else. This conversation always loops back to like the nuclear problem in general, right? Which is, like, on the one hand, nuclear power is a really good way of generating power that is fossil fuel free, right?
Yep.
Quote unquote environmentally friendly. And a lot of environmentalists have really come around to it and think if we want to get out of this climate change problem, we're going to need more nuclear power. But then it always lands into this nuclear waste problem that persists.
There is a lot going on in this story. But what are elected officials and legislators saying about this?
All the public officials are against the dumping, and they are annoyed / angry with Holtec and pushing them to be more transparent and give them more information. And that's all the way from Governor Healy down to the local Plymouth Board of Health. There's only so much they can do to some extent because nuclear power is this funny thing. It's overseen by the Nuclear Regulatory Agency, which is this federal agency. Some of the permits are given by the state and the EPA, so they have some levers to pull. And the governor might be able to step in and pull some other levers to stop things from happening. Mm-hmm. So I think as this progresses over the coming months, people are definitely looking to Governor Healy to see what she might do. And I should say, the dumping is not going to happen tomorrow. If it happens at all, it's at least a year away. Mm-hmm. So this will play out over some time.
Okay. And over that time, what will you be paying attention to specifically?
So the first thing I'm super excited about, because I'm a dork, is the state going in and testing this water, which will happen in early April, and then we should get the results sort of late April, early May. So we'll actually know what's in the water. And then I'm going to go and bring those results to some local scientists and try to get a handle on what this might mean and what this might mean for the environment. And then I'm also really interested in whether or not a independent scientific panel is going to be created to look at these results, and who's going to pay for that, and whether they're really independent. And I expect there'll be some argument over that. And then finally, I'm sort of wondering if Governor Healy's going to step in at some point once we have a little more information about what's in the water and say, this dumping's not going to happen and I'm pulling some magic governor power to make it stop. So that'll be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Oof. Barbara, thank you so much for talking to us about this.
Yes, thank you for always being willing to listen to hear me talk about pollution.
Open door. Come to the Common anytime with your toxic news. Thank you so much. That's WBUR Climate and Environment Correspondent Barbara Moran. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for listening to The Common. If you have any thoughts on this episode, please feel free to hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok at WBUR The Common. You can also send us an email at thecommon@wbur.org. I'm Daryl C. Murphy, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.